This woman, in order to avoid the emperor's favor, voluntarily degraded herself from a concubine to a palace maid. She had been born a noblewoman, but due to a lie from her fiancé, she ended up becoming a concubine in the palace by mistake. In the palace, with no power or influence, she was bullied by the empress and even beaten by her elder sister. Thinking of her mother, who was imprisoned at home, she made up her mind to disfigure herself and demote to a palace maid, hoping that when she grew older, she would be released from the palace and reunite with her mother. One day, as usual, she went to deliver clean clothes to the empress. However, a maid took her to a side hall and framed her for having an affair with an old eunuch. It turned out to be a trap set by the empress, who was jealous of the woman's beauty. The woman broke free from the restraints and ran out, only to be rescued by her fiancé, who was entering the palace to meet the emperor. Thinking of the lies her fiancé had told her before, she pushed him away in sadness. But her fiancé cried and explained that he too had been deceived by false information. Seeing his tears, she chose to believe him again. When her fiancé learned that she had offended the empress, he decided to ask the emperor to restore her position as a concubine to protect her. Before she could even feel touched by his gesture, a young eunuch entered and exposed her fiancé's plot. The eunuch revealed that her fiancé's family was deeply involved in political schemes, and he was helping her to gain more power. Just like how he had sent her to the palace knowing it was based on false rumors, he had continued with the lie. The woman didn't want to believe it, so the next day she wrote a letter begging her fiancé to take her away. However, instead of her fiancé showing up, she received a decree from the emperor restoring her position. Betrayed by her lover and suffering in the palace, she reluctantly formed an alliance with the eunuch as they both wanted to survive in the palace. The next day, the eunuch took her to the cold palace, where a disfigured concubine who had been framed by the empress lived. The concubine placed all her hopes on the woman for revenge, as the emperor had a beloved white moonlight. The concubine then taught the woman to dance, a dance that the emperor's white moonlight was famous for. With the concubine's meticulous training, the woman finally won the emperor's favor with her resemblance to the emperor's lost love and her alluring dance. For a time, she became the most favored in the harem. However, this good fortune did not last long. The emperor eventually realized that the woman was not the person he had once loved, and after rejecting her, he turned to another beautiful woman. The woman fell from the heights once more. After tasting power, she no longer wanted to be the helpless palace maid she once was, and she remembered her betrayer, the fiancé. Risking her life, she arranged to meet him in the cold palace. After she poured out her heart in sorrow, her fiancé promised to help her. Thus the two, each with their own hidden agenda, became entangled once again. The emperor loved talented women, so under her fiancé's advice, the woman disguised herself as a storyteller at night and encountered the emperor in the garden. As expected, she caught the emperor's attention again. At this point, the empress, who had always wanted to eliminate the woman, arrived and assumed that the woman was secretly meeting another man. However, when she entered the room, she found the emperor instead. In the end, the empress was demoted because of her jealousy, and the woman's elder sister, who had bullied her for so long, was sent to the cold palace. The elder sister, who had often used her status as the eldest daughter to torment the woman, was easily killed by the eunuch who served the woman after being locked in the cold palace. The ending was tragic. Before the woman could mourn her elder sister, she fainted. The emperor, rushing to visit her, found out that she was pregnant. The emperor was overjoyed and even allowed the woman's mother to enter the palace to accompany her. The woman regained favor, and in gratitude to her fiancé, she used her status to help him investigate a corruption case in the court. Not only did she help her fiancé eliminate his enemies, but she also enabled him to gain significant power in the court. After everything settled, the woman decided to sever ties with her fiancé and focus on preparing for the pregnancy. However, her greedy fiancé was not content with the power he had gained. To make the woman realize her importance, he deliberately released the mother of the woman's deceased elder sister the day her mother entered the palace. The bereaved woman rushed to the palace wielding a dagger, and although she was apprehended by the guards, her mother died from excessive blood loss. The woman, traumatized, went into premature labor. Her fiancé coldly watched this unfold from the city tower. This was the price the woman had to pay if she wanted to leave him. Still weak after childbirth and unable to even see her child, the baby was taken away by the empress's people. It was a common method in the harem for a mother to lose her child. Just as the woman was about to be killed, the eunuch arrived in time to save her, but she could never have imagined that the empress would dare to show up and gloat before her. When the woman screamed and accused the empress, the emperor harshly reprimanded her. The empress, still pretending to be virtuous, represented imperial authority, and the emperor would not tolerate anyone challenging imperial power, even if that woman had just given birth to his child. Kneeling in the cold palace, the woman mourned for her deceased mother and realized she was once again alone. At that moment, the eunuch told her that her mother's death had been secretly aided by her fiancé. The woman's heart shattered upon learning the truth. She wanted to take revenge, but she could not kill her now powerful fiancé. She had no choice but to feign returning to her fiancé's side. Now, only greater power could heal her wounded heart. The woman finally became the empress. To balance her power, the empress added many new concubines to the palace. palace. One day, using the inappropriate words of a new concubine, the woman subtly implied that the empress was plotting to harm her child, planting a seed of suspicion in the emperor's mind. The woman knew that her child, born prematurely, did not have long to live, so she decided to use the child to bring down the empress. She bribed the empress's maid and incited the empress to visit the child while the woman was absent. By the time the empress realized something was wrong, it was too late. The woman, accompanied by ministers praying for her child, barged in and exposed the empress. The emperor felt the coldness of the child's body in his arms and, under pressure from officials, had no choice but to depose the empress. The woman returned to the palace path that had once changed her fate. Now, with everything she had gained, she had also lost everything.